Hi everyone, my name is Jo Knowles and I write books for children and teens. Jennifer invited me to share a couple of stories about ways in which my books have made a difference in young readers' lives. And so I wanted to share two more recent stories that I found moving and also that made me want to speak out even more against book banning in general, which I know we have seen a huge uptick in the past several years. The first story I want to share is about an event I did recently speaking about banned books. And I shared my story about what it was like when I was a brand new author and my book, Lessons from a Dead Girl, was banned in Kentucky. And when I finished my presentation, a woman came to my table afterwards and she shared with me a story about when she was a child and her best friend told her that secretly that her stepfather had been sexually abusing her quite regularly, and this girl was terrified because he told her that if she told anyone, if she went to an adult and shared this, that he would leave her mother and that it would be all her fault. And so this best friend promised she would never tell, and she tried to support her in ways she could. But this was 30 years later. Here she was at this small town library event, and she came up to me and told me that she wished that she had had a book like mine, because then she would have known that she could have gone and gotten help for her friend. And that is just one way that books can make a difference in a child's life. Many readers of Lessons from a Dead Girl have told me they had no idea that this kind of abuse existed beyond the walls of their own home. They had no idea that other kids had suffered the same way that they had. And this is what books do. They share information, they shed light on dark things. That isn't harming children, that is helping them. Another story that I wanted to share quickly is about my book called Where the Heart Is. It's about a middle school age girl whose family is going through financial crisis. And it's also about a main character who is struggling with figuring out her own identity. And when I talk about why I wrote this book, I share my own experience with that. And after my presentation at a very large children's book conference for kids, a young girl came up to me in a very long line of other kids that she didn't know, because kids were bused from all kinds of different school districts to come to this conference. And she started to get a little weepy, and then she told me that she had been very much afraid to talk about her own struggle with anybody, because she didn't think anyone would understand. And not only that, but she didn't think anyone else really had these same struggles. And all the kids around her, she was speaking loud enough that the people in line could hear, they all started to get closer. And one person put their hand on her shoulder, others started comforting her. Then she started to cry, and then some of the other kids started to cry, and they all engulfed her in support and love. And again, this is how talking about books, what their content is, sharing stories about all kinds of kids helps. It heals. This was a child, I could see her healing before my eyes. And this is the way that we make a difference in children's lives, by sharing all stories, all kinds of stories. And so I hope that anyone watching this who feels the pressure to think twice before putting a certain book with certain content in their libraries, that you'll remember these stories and how stories like this do help. They are not harmful. Keeping them from children is what's harmful. Thank you so much.